Let's chat about the final two matches of this episode. We've got some narrow wins to talk about, some 2-1 scorelines in this one. Let's kick it off with Chicago Red Stars versus Racing Louisville FC. Chicago Red Stars taking the victory in this one, 2-1. Another matchup that we've seen with these two teams going head to head already 3 times in the last month. We saw that with Gotham and Orlando Pride, and now we're seeing this with Chicago Red Stars and Racing Louisville. Tough game, Lisa, for a number of reasons. Primarily, and you hate to see it, the weather got involved in this one. These two teams were monitoring some weather situations ahead of the match. The Chicago Red Stars putting out some weather announcements a few hours before kickoff saying, hey, National Weather Service alert. We're also paying attention to everything. But someone who was local to the area, I was also looking at the weather, trying to play meteorologist, like, well, actually, this might blow through. And by the time kickoff comes, they might be okay, trying to make my own predictions. And that was only half true. They got to play about 30 minutes of this game together on the pitch before they had to take a pause. And for nearly an hour and 20-minute delay, these teams had to go back out again, play out the final 10 minutes or so of the half, then go to halftime, and then come back out and complete the game. It was a very, very long night in Bridgeview at SeatGeek Stadium, and both teams doing their best to put on a bit of a show, try to pick up a result, and Chicago Red Stars hanging on to a 2-1 win in this one, Lisa. It was tough night, I think.
Oh gosh, the weather alone is just miserable. That is miserable to play in. And then to have to sit through a rain delay and have to continue to play after that changes a lot of things. But I think we have to give credit to Chicago for starting this game really strong in the opening 2 to 3 minutes of this match. Ella Stevens, she gets her goal in the 2nd minute of this game. And then again, Emily Fox for Racing Louisville responds in the 10th minute. That was a really good response to see from Fox, getting on the board, of course, as well. Emily Fox is such a good player. She is so good with the ball. She is a player that can change a game. We saw a lot of good things from Racing Louisville because this was also going to be a test for Chicago, as they had not beaten Racing Louisville at home yet. They do it this weekend. It was a really good job, but before the halftime, Chicago was able to get the game winner from Bianca St. George's. This was a really good goal. I think St. George's is a player that has grown into herself this year. And I think a lot of it has to do with Chris Petroselli giving her minutes and giving her consistent minutes, because Challenge Cup in 2020, she had a really good Challenge Cup. And then we didn't see her throughout the regular season in 2020. In the fall series, barely saw her throughout the 2021 regular season. And if she is a player that can get a lot of confidence, know that she can make an impact on the field, in the attack, getting assists, scoring goals, it's going to be a different year for St. George's as she goes throughout this regular season. But Racing Louisville, the weather definitely didn't help them. I mean, it didn't help Chicago by
it didn't help. Yeah, either side. It was tough.
But having to go sit in the locker room in the middle of the game and then continue to play it out, that is incredibly difficult. It takes a lot of mental strength.
Oh my gosh. Which was maybe I think if you're neutral watching this game, right? If you're not someone who has a vested side, like if you're not a huge Red Stars fan or a Racing fan, it's tough. It's almost like this is opening. It was a detriment, I think, to maybe the entertainment value, quote unquote, of this game, because it almost felt like this game was going to be a little end to end in the opening half, and then all of a sudden it just, like, the weather said, nope, none of that. We got to turn this is too fun. We have to turn it into a grinder now, a long grinder kind of a game. And I think that had that, we saw that impact, during the long stretch of the delay, and then coming into the final 10 minutes of the first half, and then a halftime, and then the full second half. But the opening goal in 2 minutes off a set piece with Colaprico to Stevens, Emily Fox with the quick response, St. George's with that ridiculous goal. It was like a ricochet off the crossbar, and then she just kept following her shot and then slotting it away. It was exciting, some of the soccer that we were taking a look at. The ball was moving quickly because the pitch was already wet from rain prior, and it was like a little bit of like, let's play some yakety sax and see like what's gonna happen in this game. And then they had to halt for nearly another 90 minutes.
Exactly. We have to give a shout out to Alyssa Nair, goalkeeper for Chicago. She ended up with 5 saves in this match, which is a lot for a goalkeeping team. I think that Racing Louisville, they had a lot of good chances, and they were trying to create chances. They had 47 total crosses in this match, 7 corner kicks,
a new record.
14 for 8 against Chicago, but the 47 crosses, where are the bodies in the box? I mean, yes, so much credit to Alyssa Nair and the Chicago defense for being able to clear those out, but Racing Louisville, get on the end of it.
Listen, and this is where I'm gonna tell you where they were. They were on the bench, Lisa. This is maybe the thing that maybe it grinded my gears in this game. Ebony Salmon did not get any time in this game for Racing against Chicago Red Stars. And I got it, looking at the map and looking at these crosses being whipped, and you could see in some of the body language, Jessica McDonald getting a little bit frustrated that some of these crosses weren't finding her, that she wasn't able to get on the end of them. And this is a veteran player who is a goal scorer, a proven goal scorer in this league. And I almost just felt like I was waiting. I was just waiting. I was like, all right, any second now, Coach Kim Bjorkegren is going to get Ebony Salmon into this game and maybe alleviate some of that targeted pressure off of Jess McDonald, and watch, this game is all of a sudden going to be a 2-2 draw, which would probably be unsurprising for a lot of neutrals watching, because these two teams tend to play out the draws. But it didn't happen, Lisa. And I was like, okay. She was not listed on the injury report. That was I was like, maybe there's something there that she's working through. Maybe it was game day decision, but I would have loved to have seen a player like Salmon come into this game and see what she can do in a late game situation after it was just such a long grind type of game, but we just didn't see it happen. And we'll never know how it was going to shake out, because Chicago ends up taking the win in this one, and all 3 points. So tough. I hope we don't have to see another ridiculous long extended delay like that. And it wasn't just for the rain. For folks who are unaware, the soccer takes place in anything: heat, cold, rain, shine, snow. But when there's lightning involved, that is like the rule of all rules. And once there's a lightning strike within the area, you gotta postpone the game. So that's what ended up happening that night. Hopefully, knock on wood, everybody, we don't have to see that again or have the players go through that. But let's close it out, I think, with another very, very big game. We opened up this episode with a huge game. I think we're going to close out this episode with a huge game. Washington Spirit versus OL Reign. I'm loving the matchup between these two teams, Lisa. It's an exciting time to watch these two teams go head to head, opening up the regular season against each other. Washington Spirit taking the victory in this one, 2-1, and getting their championship rings on this day as well. It was, you love to see it. Good scenes out of DC.
You love to see it. This was my game to watch this weekend. I had it circled. Not only was it a preview to the Challenge Cup semifinals taking place this Wednesday, but these are 2 powerhouse teams that did really well throughout their Challenge Cup regional games that they played. And now they got to face big competition on the East Coast in DC. We both had draws for this one. I don't know if you remember, but I had a big draw, meaning like 2-2, 3-3, and you had a small, narrow draw. I was almost there. We have to talk about what happened in this match. I mean, the opening 15 minutes across the board this weekend were really crucial for every single team, whether it was getting on the board or defending. There was a penalty kick awarded to OL Reign in the opening minutes of this match. Rose Lavelle steps up to take it, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to Aubrey Kingsbury here for saving this one and not letting this be a goal. Rose Lavelle and Aubrey Kingsbury, they know each other very well from the national team camps that they played together. They know each other very well. I'm sure they practice penalty kicks at the national team, and Aubrey Kingsbury able to come up huge with this save. If Rose Lavelle converted and if OL Reign were able to get on the board first, I think it would have changed things for OL Reign. Not that Washington Spirit would have been deterred at all, because we've seen them come from behind 2 goals. We've seen them get equalizers, late game winners. But for OL Reign, they would have had a little bit more confidence throughout this match, because just a few minutes later, before the 15-minute mark, Ashley Sanchez nails a bullet of a goal from the top of the box. This is what we've been waiting to see from Ashley Sanchez. We know she can do it. She can assist. The confidence for Sanchez has been growing and mounting throughout this season, throughout last year in 2021. And this is it. Keep an eye on Ashley Sanchez, because she is phenomenal to watch. She is going to be one of the best players to watch in the league this year and for the national team.
I'm with you. I loved watching another game where we got to see this very impressive attack from the Spirit. But I wanted, before I wax poetic about that, I wanted to step back for a second and talk about that penalty kick. It absolutely would have made a difference in this game. Yes. And yes, as a goalkeeper, when you're put in that scenario, there's 2 jobs here. As the one stepping up to take the penalty kick, you got to convert. And as the one in the net, you have to stop it. And I'm sorry, you could just sort of see, I did not think it was a very well taken penalty kick. That's not to take away from the stop that Kingsbury went ahead and made. But you can even see in the body language of Rose Lavelle, she was kind of pissed. She was like, I just did that. You could just sort of see immediately, and her body language was like, that sucked. Like, she was not happy with the way in which she took that. And then it sort of puts you in it was still 0-0. So it's like it was still a game that was that was attainable in terms of momentum. Like, who's going to take the momentum in this game first? And that moment, if she would have converted, it would have gave the Reign probably the next stretch of momentum in the game, and it didn't happen. So now you had 2 teams that were kind of chasing after momentum in the game. And once you allow a team like the Spirit to get a hold of that, they are very rarely going to give it back to you.
Oh, yeah. And Rose Lavelle missing that penalty kick affects her own personal confidence, because we've seen this OL Reign team score goals like bam, 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 back to back to back. And because that first penalty kick wasn't converted, it definitely changed things. But this game was incredibly entertaining to watch, because it was so open. Every time the team got the ball, it was push in transition, look to go fast, get down to the other side of the pitch, a pickoff, go the other way. It was a tennis match going back and forth if you were watching this at home, because it was so fast. But in the second half of this match, Rose Lavelle, she makes it up. She ends up getting on the board. It was like a ricochet pass. She follows it up and ends up getting on the board. It was a sloppy goal, but a goal is a goal. At this point, it's 1-1 actually after the Ashley Sanchez goal in the first half. 53rd minute, Rose Lavelle gets the equalizer, and then Ashley Hatch, she nets the game winner in the 66th minute, assisted from Trinity Rodman. It's the triple threat up top between Sanchez, Rodman, and Hatch for Washington Spirit that is making them unstoppable.
That might have been my favorite goal in this game. I mean, this Sam Staub, we've had her on the show. She's a great player to talk to, and listening to her and watching. We asked her when she came on with us, we're like, listen, are we going to see some more, Sam Staub bombs in this one? And that is what this sort of go ahead goal. It was lovely. We saw this great dime over the top from Staub out wide to Rodman, who serves it in, and just this nice little flick of a header from Hatch to sort of give them the go ahead goal. It's like something that we've just seen from this team constantly, and it's sort of scary to think about this Washington Spirit attack possibly getting more lethal, because we got to give a shout out to some of the underrated players in this game as well. I mean, Anna Hefferty is making herself known, I think, to the oppositions as the Spirit are going up against other teams in the league to start out 2022 as reigning champions of 2021. Maybe a player that wasn't on the radar or the scouting reports for oppositions, but she's going to be now.
Well, she played
moving forward.
defense in 2021. She was a forward in college. She went to Boston and was drafted by Washington Spirit and ultimately played in the back line as an outside back under Richie Burke, which it depleted her skills as a forward because she's an incredibly good forward. And now that Helferty is playing in her correct position, higher up the pitch in the front line, we're actually seeing what she can do, why she was drafted, why she was such a good collegiate player at Boston, and what she can do on the pitch for in the front line, especially playing alongside and Sanchez. Yeah.
Chris Ward's slotting her in there, in light of Tara McCown, being injured, having to navigate herself through some injuries right now. It's almost like there hasn't been like a hiccup in terms of player in, player out. Like this attack still looks as lethal as it did with or without. It's just very, again, it's very impressive. And honestly, maybe like we've been alluding to this on some of our prior episodes when it comes to these two teams when we were covering Challenge Cup group play, and now we're going to be covering the semifinals, but playoff previews, I feel that anytime these two teams are going head to head, like we're getting a taste of it. And honestly, it's delicious. I want more of it. I cannot believe that we're going to see these two teams go head to head once more midweek for the Challenge Cup semifinal. But for the regular season, the Spirit take the first one and all 3 points.